This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
Layers, layers, and more layers.
2,000 miles of watches and warnings.
The risks are so intense.
We celebrate the truth that every single person is made by God.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
The Great American Deep Freeze. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster.
Layers, layers, and more layers.
That's good advice from New Mexico to New England. About half of us nationwide under winter weather warnings and watches this weekend for a potent combination of cold, ice, and snow. National Weather Service Director Ken Graham tells Fox News
2,000 miles of watches and warnings. It's just absolutely incredible. More than half the country is going to experience winter weather. Everyone's thinking this, right? Like, what can I do? Can I travel? The big thing is just stay off the roads. I mean, listen to the local officials is the big thing.
Our Kevin Williams forecast coming to you later in this newscast. New York Governor Kathy Hochul says don't take this all lightly.
A very dangerous combination of heavy snow and extreme cold temperatures. And the risks are so intense.
Pennsylvania Secretary of Transportation Mike Carroll says Saturday at midnight, Tier 4 travel restrictions will go into effect.
The Tier 4 restriction means no commercial vehicles are permitted. All school buses, commercial buses, motor coaches, motorcycles, RVs, motorhomes, passenger vehicles that are towing trailers are not permitted on roadways while the Tier 4 restriction is in place.
Flying may be no easier than driving. Already over 1,000 weekend flights canceled due to the impending storm, stressing some, though not all.
It's more my husband getting stressed out about it more than me, so that then stresses me out sometimes where we have to check the flight constantly throughout the entire trip.
Now, this flyer says you just have to be ready for, whatever.
Packed extra, planned for needing to stay a day or two if need be.
Good advice. More practical steps later in this newscast. Our other big story today, the annual March for Life.
The thing that we remember, especially at this time, is the foundational truth of America. We celebrate the truth that every single person is made by God.
House Speaker Mike Johnson among the speakers in Washington today, as was Vice President J.D. Vance. He and his wife are expecting their fourth child in July.
Last year, I told you all that one of the things I most wanted in the United States of America was more families and more babies. So let the record show you have a vice president who practices what he preaches.
This was the 53rd annual March for Life in Washington. New anti-ice protest in Minnesota this afternoon. Despite sub-zero temperatures, it's 10 below zero in Minneapolis right now. Earlier, the head of border enforcement fired back at the protesters and the media over accusations that a 5-year-old boy was arrested by ICE while he was walking home from a Minneapolis preschool. Greg Bovino says no.
The 5-year-old yesterday, that 5-year-old remains with his family. That false media narrative that was pushed out yesterday it was false.
Bovino says the boy was actually abandoned by his father, an illegal immigrant from Ecuador, during an immigration enforcement operation. A former Canadian Olympic snowboarder turned suspected drug kingpin is finally in custody. FBI Director Kash Patel says that Ryan Wedding was arrested last night in Mexico. Wedding's accused of overseeing operations of a criminal enterprise and intimidating witnesses. A $15 million reward was offered for information leading to his arrest. Officials from Ukraine, Russia, and the U.S. meeting in the UAE to try to finally reach a deal to end the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Nick Harper says this latest round of talks is significant.
For the very first time, all three countries are sitting down together. There's been plenty of talks between the U.S. and Russia, the U.S. and Ukraine, but we haven't seen Ukraine and Russia communicating directly.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that meeting while speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland yesterday. He said the talks will continue tomorrow. The trilateral meeting comes as the war between Russia and Ukraine nears the 4-year mark. A potential withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria has Republicans concerned. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham and Texas Congressman Michael McCaul reacting to a recent report from the Wall Street Journal warning that a decreased presence in the country will wind up benefiting benefiting the Islamic State. And TikTok has signed a deal to keep that app up and running in the U.S. The company says a new joint venture will help protect national security through comprehensive data protection, algorithm security, content moderation, and software assurances for all U.S. users. Tech giant Oracle, MGX, and investment firm Silver Lake will each own a 15% stake, while the app's Chinese parent company ByteDance will have a 19.5% stake. All right, still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, we'll have a recap of the top local stories, including the weather situation, and highlights from this week's Capital Connection.
Good evening to all. I'm Kevin Williams with a check of your Family Life regional forecast. Our call for tonight: blustery early, bitterly cold, flurries, partly cloudy skies. Lake effect snows south and southeast of Lake Ontario, though, will continue into tomorrow, several inches there. Low temperatures tonight near or below zero. High temperatures tomorrow approaching 10. No snow region-wide Sunday and Sunday night. Heavy at times will the snow fall. By the time it tapers to flurries on Monday, amounts will range from about 6 inches in Niagara to a foot and a half from central Pennsylvania into the eastern southern tier of New York. High temperatures on Sunday will range in the teens, so that snow's going to be dry and powdery.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. Well, the weather is the lead story today ahead of this weekend's predicted heavy snow and intense cold. Frozen pipes among the big problems in weather like this. Rochester, New York plumber Frank Marino.
We want to make sure that we're attentive to the spaces in the home where they're not achieving the best heat, right? Garage spaces, attic spaces, crawl spaces.
You can improve the heat in those spaces by opening up doors and turning up the thermostat a few degrees. Max Bernhardt runs the Horseheads Do-It Center in Chemung County.
Hopefully, if you prepare for it enough, you either have insulation over the pipe or a heat tape, which will keep heat going into the pipe so it doesn't freeze. Also, they do recommend just running your water at a trickle just to keep the water flow going, or even a heater down in the basement or somewhere where the pipes are to keep temperature up.
Well, if those pipes do wind up freezing, Frank Marino says probably best to call it a pro.
A lot of homeowners will try to unthaw the pipe themselves, try to take a torch to it, a hairdryer to it. I do not recommend that whatsoever.
Marino says metallic piping in older homes is more susceptible to freezing than newer plastic pipes. Those conditions are extra challenging for those who mostly work outside, too. Ben Simmons runs a dairy operation in central New York. He tells Spectrum News.
Starting Friday night, going into Monday, the farmers are going to be working on overtime because everything is not going to start. It's going to break because of the cold weather, and water to the barns is going to be a problem.
Simon says it's never easy operating a farm in this kind of cold. It's just that much harder. Philadelphia is suing the federal government after a slavery-themed exhibit was removed by the Trump administration. Here's the story from Family Life's Sarah Harnish.
An outdoor memorial honoring the lives of 9 people enslaved by President George Washington was quietly removed Thursday from Independence National Park in Philadelphia. Governor Josh Shapiro says the city was not notified and, quote, President Trump will take any opportunity to rewrite and whitewash our nation's history. Trump says the country has already been whitewashed with history books and museums focusing on how horrible America is and nothing about our successes, nothing about brightness or the future. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
All right, thank you very much, Sarah. Up next, highlights from today's edition of Capital Connection. Our Bob Price speaking with Michael Geer from the Pennsylvania Family Institute, focusing here on the 53rd Annual March for Life, which happened today on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., including a large contingent of pro-life supporters from Pennsylvania.
Among the big challenges right now is the expanded use and promotion of chemical abortions, the so-called abortion pill. Other challenges include the continuing political and legal attacks on pro-life pregnancy care centers who serve on the front lines of caring and serving women. Also contributing to the demand for abortion is the decline of the institution of marriage as more and more young people are choosing not to get married until later in life. And that is a societal trend that I think we must work hard to reverse.
Well, Vice President J.D. Vance is among the speakers at today's rally. Of course, he's going to be a dad again this summer. His wife, Usha, announcing that they're pregnant with their 4th child. But how satisfied are you, Michael, with the Trump administration in its efforts to promote life, whether it be through legislation, executive action, or judicial appointment?
Well, I do offer congratulations to the Vice President and his wife. It's wonderful to hear news of a fourth child that they're going to have in their family. The Trump administration, we have a lot to salute them for, especially in the first Trump administration with the judicial appointments that were made that resulted in the overturn of the Roe versus Wade decision. I do have some concerns about the Trump administration related to the negotiations that are taking place on potential extension of the Obamacare subsidies. And the president had said, let's be a little bit flexible on the Hyde Amendment, which is federal funding for abortion. We don't want to see that. And so we have used our voice and encouraged people to tell the Trump administration no flexibility, no federal funding of abortion.
Yeah. Well, two lines that I love to hear you say, Michael, and you've said them many times on this program, is abortion is not health care. I love that line. Yep. And pregnancy is not a disease. What are some effective strategies that pro-lifers can employ to rebuff the lies that are being promoted by the abortion industry? Because you do hear that a lot from the abortion industry. Abortion is health care. No, it's not. If you would talk about some strategies pro-lifers can employ to win the argument here.
Well, we talk about the Hippocratic Oath that doctors have taken, throughout history, and the notion is first do no harm. And the notion that somehow harming a innocent human life through abortion is somehow healthcare just runs simply counter to common sense, and also I think has denigrated and diminished the healthcare industry entirely. Death is not healthcare. But part of the problem is that those lies that the abortion industry is promoting are funded with lots of money from the abortion industry, and then they have the support and complicity of the mainstream media. But as I think about the ups and downs of the pro-life movement over the decades, I think the greatest positive strides that we've seen is when we can highlight the humanity of the unborn child. That points to the innate capacity of human beings to have compassion and empathy when they realize that unborn child is a human life deserving of protection in law.
Yeah. There's still today in Pennsylvania about 100 abortions every day. Talk, if you would, about the vital role that pregnancy care centers play in your state and across the country.
Well, if anybody doubts that they play that vital role, they just need to look at the work of folks like Letitia James and others, past attorneys general here in Pennsylvania that have targeted pregnancy resource centers because they see them as a real threat to the abortion ideology, to the promotion of the taking of human life. Pro-life pregnancy centers are on the front line. We salute their work each and every day. We encourage people, including listeners of this program, to support them financially, to consider ways they can volunteer and participate in the pregnancy care centers, because they are doing what the pro-life movement has historically done, even though we're accused of not doing it, and that's caring for the women who are in those situations where people are telling them that the answer is to abort that child, and the pro-life pregnancy centers are providing, no, that is not the right answer, but not only is it not the right answer, but we will come alongside you as you choose life, as God tells us to do.
Thank you, gentlemen. You can hear Capital Connection and all of our Family Life original news features in their entirety at Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and at FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Success means something very different in God's kingdom. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Our culture measures success by income, achievement, influence, or how much we can accumulate. But Scripture consistently turns that definition upside down. In God's economy, success isn't about getting ahead. It's about becoming faithful. It's measured not by the size of our platform, but by the posture of our hearts. The Bible shows us that true success looks like obedience in the small things, integrity when no one is watching, generosity when no one is applauding, and gratitude no matter the outcome. God isn't asking us to be impressive. He's inviting us to be faithful. When we align our goals, our work, and our finances with His purposes, we discover the kind of success that lasts. Get biblical answers to your financial questions in the Faith-Fi community. Download Faith-Fi, Faith and Finance in your app store or visit faithfi.com.
Thank you, Rob. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, how a class ring from Nebraska wound up on a New Jersey beach and then decades later, home again. But first, the all-important forecast with Kevin.
Good evening to all. I'm Kevin Williams with a check of your Family Life regional forecast. Well, there's no doubt about it. We've got a wintry weekend ahead. The Arctic cold rush is underway. A Frigid night is ahead tonight. And the southern storm we've been talking about all week, that heads north, and it produces a region-wide plowable snow Sunday into Monday. Our call for tonight, blustery early, bitterly cold, flurries, partly cloudy skies. Lake effect snows south and southeast of Lake Ontario, though, will continue into tomorrow, several inches there. Low temperatures tonight near or below zero. High temperatures tomorrow approaching 10. No snow region-wide Sunday and Sunday night. Heavy at times will the snow fall. By the time it tapers to flurries on Monday, amounts will range from about 6 inches in Niagara to a foot and a half from central Pennsylvania into the eastern southern tier of New York. High temperatures on Sunday will range in the teens, so that snow's going to be dry and powdery.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Finally, at 5, Andrew Siffer was beachcombing in Belmar, New Jersey, when he saw something shiny. Turned out to be a class of 1966 ring from Crete High School in Nebraska, 1,300 miles away. But whose ring? It did have the initials BW, so he went from treasure hunter to detective, trying to find the owner. He reached out to the Crete Library. They reached out to the school district. Eventually, they determined BW as Barbara Wilage, who unfortunately had passed away. But her sister now has that ring and is grateful for the effort in getting it back to the family.
It's the ooh and ah of it. Like, number one, for this young man to take it upon himself to do this is monumental. And after all that time, didn't even suffer damage.
Well-built ring, Crete class of 66 grad Jane Farnbrook.
It does show that there's good in people and that they're willing to follow through with a neat sentimental type thing.
Still, one mystery remains.
We still have no idea how the ring got there.
Well, I guess what happened in Jersey stays in Jersey. And that's the world we live in for Friday, January 23rd, 2026. Thank you again for joining us. Stay safe. Have a blessed weekend. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.